Alright, the story is about a woman called Khadija. She decides to marry a Christian man against the wishes of her family, and that was the start of her problem. And it is the only crime she committed in the story that leads to her being estranged by her parents because she went against the wishes of her family, and they believe that she brought the family into shame. So they decided to estrange her, to chase her away from the family, and then she decided to move on with her Christian boyfriend, who later became her husband. So they went away to live together, but the family was so unhappy of Khadija's decision that they had a grudge against Khadija. So the story is told by Khadija's older sister named Kaltom. Kaltom is the one who's telling the story. She had a grudge against Khadija. She really was hurt by Khadija's decision. We learned that after 3 years of Khadija being away from her family, after the death of her parents, she made means to reconcile with her family by calling them every day. But they ignored her calls until it was time for her to visit her family. Then we are told that they will shut the door on her face because they didn't want anything to do with Khadija. That was after we learned that her parents had passed on. We now see that the family was so unhappy of Khadija's decision, and they had this hate towards Khadija. We learned that the brothers of the family, some were so hostile than the others. They were so angry at Khadija, including Kaltum herself. Kaltum was the eldest in the family, was the one who was left with the authority to lead the family after the passing of her parents. So if there was someone with an authority, it was Kaltum. The brothers had no choice but to follow what Kaltum would say to them, because she was the leader and she was the one who was in charge of the family. Then, after learning that the brothers were not willing to forgive her, then Khadija decided to visit the family shop on Fridays, because during Fridays, Kaltom is the one who runs the family shop during Fridays. So she decided to visit Kaltom alone at the family shop while the brothers of the family goes for Muslim prayers at the Muslim place of worship called mosque. Mosque is a Muslim a place of worship. So the brothers go there on Fridays to pray. So when the brothers are there, then Kaltum goes to the family shop, and then Khadija was so intelligent enough to see that if she goes there, she'll find Kaltum alone. Why? She targeted Kaltum alone because she knew that if she can convince Kaltum to forgive her, then Kaltum will be able to convince the rest of the family to forgive her because she was the one with the authority to forgive. Sorry, to push everyone to forgive Khadija. But then Kaltum says that Khadija should have known that she was not in a business of pretending. She wouldn't pretend as if everything was okay while she knew that everything was not okay. So the main thing here, Kaltum reveals during the narration of the story that the main reason for her not to forgive Khadija was not only because she decided to marry a Christian man against the wishes of her family, but also because everyone in the family blamed her for the death of her parents. It means that maybe her decision caused so much stress to her parents that they suffered until they died because they were so hurt. So these are two things that Khadija is blamed of: marrying a Christian boyfriend against their wishes, causing death to their parents, and also, by putting the family into shame because as Muslims they do not have, or they should not marry someone of different religion other than being other than Islam religion, if I may say. So so Kaltom was not willing to speak to Khadija. She would ignore Khadija, even though Khadija was at the family shop. If you describe the setting here, we will say at the family shop on Friday. Two things. The place, family shop, Friday is the time. Describe the setting of this extract towards the end, in fact. All right, but now you are going to check. You are going to check the extract. Then you will see when Khadija was having a conversation with Kaltom. So until Kaltom became aggrieved because she was angry. At some point, she pushed Khadija, and when Khadija was about to fall, she was so struck about Khadija's resemblance to her mother that Khadija was the one who looked like her mother the most. At some point, she thought she pushed her mother. That's why there is a question which will say why Khartoum thought she struck her mother. Then you will say that because Khadija was the one who looked like her mother the most, which is also ironic in the story because Khadija is an outcast in the story, yet she looks like her mother the most. Alright. Alright, we also learn of another irony in the story when Khartoum says that her Christian friends teach her to be forgiving on Fridays, yet she's struggling to forgive her own little sister. There is also another irony that Khartoum has Christian friends, yet she's struggling to forgive her sister for marrying a Christian boyfriend. And she also reveals that she wants nothing to do with her sister and her sister's boyfriend. But then Khadija keeps on coming back, even though Khartoum is not willing to forgive her. Even though when she's speaking, Khartoum did not respond to her, but she kept on coming back every Friday. On one of the Fridays, she then took a bag of sweet. That is how the bags of sweet is relevant in the story, and pushed it to Khadija's arms to give it as a gift. So we all know with Islam religion that it was supposed to be a token for appreciation, to appreciate her for of something. But in this case, it serves as an insult. She was insulting her, pushing her away, treating her as a child. To discourage Khadija from coming back again. She reveals towards the end of the story when she's talking to the little brother of the family, Abdul. That is what you'll do to a child when the child is annoying you. You give the child a bag of sweet and the child disappears. So it was an insult, not for appreciation, as gifts are for usually. They are for appreciation. When someone has done something good, you give her a gift to appreciate it. But in this case, Kaltum was mocking and insulting Khadija. And also she reveals to her delight. Kaltum reveals to the brothers when she goes back home after weeks, after several weeks. We learned that it was after several weeks. So she was still processing whether to tell the brothers about this or not. She then went home to tell the brothers that Khadija does come to shop to the shop on every Fridays, and they were so amazed because they didn't have that information. Because since we know that when it is Friday, Kaltum goes and run the family shop, and the brothers go to the mosque for Islamic prayers. What is a mosque? A mosque is a place, Islamic place of worship. Yes. So we also learn about Abdul, the third character in the story. There are three characters in this story. We have Khadija. She's a very humble woman. She understands everybody in the family is upset, but she only committed one crime, marrying a man she loved against the will of her family. Also, Kaltum is cruel. She's struggling to forgive her sister for and understanding her sister for marrying a Christian boyfriend. She hates her sister's Christian boyfriend, also her sister, and Abdul is very forgiving. Kaltum says that I knew she would have forgiven Khadija the very first day she went estranged or she went away from home, but the people who maybe the people who were holding Abdul back from forgiving Khadija was people like Kaltum. Abdul had to follow what Kaltum was saying because Kaltum is the leader of the family since the parents died. So I said that Kaltum took the matter to home to tell her brothers about what happened about her giving Khadija the bags of sweets. So it's Kaltum who gave Khadija a cheap bag of sweets. So the brothers were so shocked. They were so stunned by Kaltum because they didn't believe how cruel Kaltum can be. Kaltum says that I could see them through their faces that they were starting to sympathize with Khadija lately. We know that how much they hated Khadija, but they were starting to sympathize with her lately after Kaltum's cruel act. So we learn of the things. The theme of unforgiveness is evident in this story because the family is unable to forgive Khadija for marrying a Christian man, but also there is a theme of love when Khadija decides to marry a Christian man against the wishes of her of her parents. Also, she's following her heart by doing so. All right. So we can say that at some point, Khartoum's heart softened a little because after Khadija decided not to come back on one of the Fridays, we learned that Khartoum waited for Khadija past closing time, while on the other Fridays, she did not want anything to do with Khadija. She would be busy with things at the family shop until it was time for closing and not respond to Khadija. She pushed Khadija aggressively. So we learned that we can feel that at some point she did have a soft spot for Khadija, but she pretended as if she didn't have a soft spot. So we learn also with the questions that Abdul were posing at the end that Kalto might have a grudge against Khadija because Khadija did not tell her that she was in love with a Christian boyfriend. If there was someone who was supposed to know first, it was her as her older sister, but she decided to keep quiet until it was known that she was falling in love with a Christian boyfriend. So Kaltom was disappointed, and also we learned that it might be jealousy that since Khadija was the youngest in the family, she got married first before Kaltom got married. Yes, so we learn that from the questions when Abdul was posing questions to Kaltom and Kaltom responded. But we can also feel a sense of guilt from Kaltom's side of not forgiving Khadija because we can see that at the end she feels her heart softened because she wouldn't wait for Khadija if she did not have a soft spot for her. So these are the key points of the story. And we also learn that most of the story takes place at the family shop. Most of the story takes place at the family shop. Why Khadija's family is struggling to forgive her because she married a Christian man against the wishes of her family. Why they hate her because they are blaming her for the death of her parents. Why Khadija was estranged or was chased away from the family or is taken as an outcast in her family is because she decided to marry a Christian man against the wishes of or against their wishes. Um, um, why the brothers of the family were not forgiving Kaltom, even though they finally had sympathy. Sorry, were not forgiving Khadija, even though they finally had sympathy for her because Kaltom was not willing to forgive Khadija. So she was the one with the authority to to convince everyone in the family to forgive Khadija. So because she was angry at Khadija, she decided not to convince everyone. Instead, she was the one who made everybody in the family hate Khadija even more because of the influence that she had towards everyone in the family. So we learn that maybe we can say that Khadija finally moved on after realizing that her parents, sorry, her family was not prepared to forgive her. So the problem was now left with everybody in the family because Khadija decided to let the bygones be the bygones. So the lesson that we learn is that we sometimes can live peacefully if we can let the bygones be the bygones. And the people who are struggling to forgive others are the ones who suffer the most than those who ask for forgiveness, because those who ask for forgiveness and not get forgiveness, they tend to move on. That's what Khadija did. Thank you.